This is Free Range with Von Miller, the podcast where I step outside the lines and I take you with me. Each week, we're talking everything from the biggest stories around the league to the biggest stories off the field. This isn't your average sports podcast. This is game meets culture, locker room meets living room, and no topic is off limits. So if you're into good conversations that ruffle a few feathers, join me every Wednesday and follow Free Range with Von Miller everywhere you get your podcast.
We know how we are sexually and in the bedroom, and then there's a lot of things that are outside of our comfort zone. And there's probably some desire to explore outside of the comfort zone, but it's scary and it's vulnerable. But we don't get to receive the pleasure of sexual expansion unless we're willing to walk into that fear and that discomfort. And then on the other side of that, literally, metaphorically, we can explode with new levels of pleasure, but not unless we're willing to meet the edge.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad and the shocking stories of sugar dating. We've got a really interesting guest in today. I'm going to bring her in a minute. I met her during my travels to Texas in Austin last week, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. But I have Nikki in the house. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Welcome back.
Yeah, great to be here always.
Yeah, so Nikki's been filling in a little bit, kind of co-hosting. We're seeing how things go, but we really appreciate you coming in because you have a little bit of a drive.
Yeah, I do.
You live north of town.
Yep, I live north, and it's not so bad coming here, but going back, I usually have to rush back to get back to work, and sometimes the traffic's a little heavy, but it gets me out of my home office, and I love being down here in Scottsdale and in the studio, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Nikki's fairly new. She came to our last party. Nikki's coming to our next Sugarpalooza 7, which is right around the corner. I am not sure when this episode's coming out because I got a few, but we're going probably either really close to Sugarpalooza 7 or it's happening. But if you want to come and we still have openings, then go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. Push the party tab. You'll find all the information there. It's going to be a really, really fun weekend. Nikki had such a great time last time. Met some amazing people.
Yes.
A community you had no idea existed.
No idea. And now I'm fully immersed and loving it.
Yeah, it's such a great time. We're going to bring about 30 to 35 women and 15 or so men who are sponsoring the party together for the Bryan Adams Pat Benatar concert. And I'm getting really excited because people who have seen Bryan Adams lately says he puts on a hell of a show. And I already love his music from the 80s. I mean, that's kind of my time. Putting on a good show too. It's going to be a lot of fun. In our private suite, we got 2 of those with all you can eat, all you can drink. We've got some pre-parties planned, party buses, the whole weekend. It's an event you'll never forget. So Sugar Days, we've got 2 spots left as of this recording. 2, that's it. Can you believe that?
Oh, that filled up fast.
Oh, I'm telling you, the parties are just getting better and better, and they're hearing how good they are. And so now we got quite a following, and a lot of the guys that were at the last one want to come back, and we've got a lot of new ones too. But if you want more information on that, it's info@secretsofasugardaddy.com. And then finally, our Patreon, if you haven't joined us yet, it's free to join. And then we have some tiers that start at as little as $10 a month and coaching and profile reviews there. As of January 1st, 2026, we are restructuring the tiers. And so we're going to change those. I've got Alejandra, who is my sugar baby, and she finally graduated or passed her boards, her exams. So she's now a licensed x-ray technician, can work. But in the meantime, she's taking a break because she studied all summer, and she's working for me, and she's putting together a system, a calendar system, where people that are getting coaching and profile reviews can go see what the available slots are and sign up for it. We have had so many of you, and we really appreciate it. We love helping you, but we've gotten a little disorganized, and some have gotten lost in the shuffle. And I apologize for that, because Lily does a lot of those, and she's been traveling so much. I've been traveling, and then my inbox is full, and I'm like, okay, wait, who did we get to? Who do we still owe some coaching to? So we're going to get a lot more organized on that. So see that structured calendar coming soon. All right. And if you want to know where our Patreon is, I'll put a link to it at the bottom of this episode. It's also on our website, but it's patreon.com/secrets of a sugar daddy podcast. All right. Enough of the business. Let's bring on our guest. So I was traveling in Austin last week, and I met some really amazing people there. I have family, and I was able to reconnect. I actually reconnected with a cousin that I haven't seen or really had a sit-down talk with in over 35 to 40 years.
That is a long time.
And you know what? I've only known her through Facebook postings and stuff. I have a big family. There's 10 of us in my family, and then, there's nieces, nephews, and brothers and sisters. It's just, they're everywhere, right? So I lose track of who I'm related to, but we had a sit-down one-on-one conversation, and it was an absolute amazing experience. I got to see my brother and my niece, and then I met some people on Seeking that I would have just never had the opportunity to meet before, and I came away from there some really, really cool memories. And I found out that this other girl that we're going to bring on, Isabella, she is kind of got a really unique approach to a lot of things. And we connected. She's sent me a link to her website. I looked it over. I said, Lily, you've got to get this girl on the show, because this is unlike anything that we talk about. It does have something to do with the way humans react with each other, and that's what we talk about so much, whatever kind of dating you do. So I'm going to just bring her in. Isabella, how are you? You're in Texas, aren't you?
I am. I'm coming to you from the heart of downtown Austin.
So you are in Austin currently.
I am.
Now, we didn't get a chance to meet face to face, but we did talk about this experience that you offer and why it's unique and how you make a lasting impression on people. I have so many questions.
As do I.
Yeah.
I love questions.
Yeah.
And I love answers.
Okay, let's just go ahead and throw out the name of your site, and then people can kind of look it up and get a little bit familiar with it as we talk about it. But what was it? Sacred Spread?
Yeah, so one of the events that I put on is sacredspread.com. And I believe that's the one you're referring to. That's a very particular event that's coming up in November, and we'll chat more about that as well as all the things.
Yeah.
But the sacredspread.com, SACREDSPREAD.com.
Yeah. So how this ties into sugar dating, let me just get a little bit of baseline of where you're at. You are on the older side. I don't know if you want to say your age, but
44.
You're 44. She looks amazing. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Very much. Yes,
I don't know if you're filtering, but you look amazing.
I'm not filtering. And it is hysterical to me that I think that this is the first time I've heard that you're on the older side. Clearly I'm on a sugar podcast.
Yeah. I mean, typical sugar babies that we interview and see online are, between, now I know they range all the way from 18 to 80, but the majority seem to be in the 21 to 30 year range. As our show has evolved and as we've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of girls, we're finding that they're having a lot of success in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s. My previous co-host, Lily, who set the appointment up, she started when she was 52. And now she's met her dream partner, and they're engaged, and that's why she stepped away from the spotlight a little bit, is because now she's working behind the scenes. But it's made an amazing impact on her life in her 50s, right? So
yeah, I really support any age to participate in the things that feel joyful and pleasurable for them. I personally am not a sugar baby. I don't identify as a sugar baby, nor have I ever. However, I do work with a lot of sugar daddies, and that is where we intersect.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a slightly different lens through which I view this conversation, but it's an adjacent
Mm-hmm.
to sugar babies because I'm deeply connected to what many of the men in this sphere are desiring. And what I'll share more about is a lot of my work is providing experiences for men that they didn't know that they wanted. And even if they knew that they wanted them, they wouldn't know where to find them. And that is where my sweet spot is in the world of creating experiences, custom designing experiences to create more power, more pleasure, more purpose for men who already have the material world down. They navigate the financial realms with ease, and yet the internal world is still desiring more adventure, more connection, more intimacy, more unconventional ways of doing life. And so that's where I come in supporting men to cultivate higher levels of energetic and emotional and erotic intelligence so that they can have more deeply fulfilling relationships, whether that's with sugar, without sugar, all in all aspects in the world. And the other thing I'll say about that is that there's a way in which I can also work with sugar babies and weave them into the experience as well. It's my deepest pleasure is creating things that people have never experienced or heard of or even can imagine based solely on what their desires are, their pleasures are. I think about the way we do life and this grand buffet of life that we all get to eat off of. And if you think of a buffet, oftentimes, at least myself, I kind of know what I want. I take the things that I want, I put them on my plate, and then I don't take the things that I don't want, unless I'm feeling kind of adventurous. And I liken that to what I do, which is I create a grand buffet of experiences for the men that I work with, oftentimes giving them access to things that they would never know that they even enjoyed or liked. And then we get to take a taste of this and a bite of that and this kind of dessert and this main. And it serves to expand the experience of being alive in ways that when we are playing in the box of what we know through no fault of anyone's, just because that's how we're human and what we do, end up not getting to experience this vast rainbow that is available for us. So those are some of the realms that I like to play in. And
Yeah,
and there's
this
just
is fascinating. Absolutely. I'm so curious. You didn't just come out of high school wanting to do this, right? I mean, how did this even develop? How do you get to this point? Because what you said is so far beyond what most people think about. But then once you verbalize it, you're like, oh my God, this makes sense, right? How do you get to that point? How do you get from, oh, I wonder what I'm going to do with my life to this point?
I love this question. And it goes back to what we chatted about before we went live, which is reminiscing on how did I even get here? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how did this podcast come to be? And there were moments and people and conversations that created this podcast. And now it's a living, breathing creation in of itself. And similarly to the work that I do, it's very organic, very emergent. And I could have never dreamt this up for myself in a million years had I thought that this was what I could do. I didn't even know that what I do exists because it never did exist until I started doing it. The easiest way to answer that question is to say that it's a natural overflowing of all of the things that I already love. And all of the things that I already love are I'm also an artist in the performance space and in the experience design space. And so my work, if you will, which I use quotes for that because it certainly does not feel like work for me, is to create experiences for people that deepen levels of intimacy, that deepen levels of connection, that are colorful and unique and unconventional and kinky and sensual. And it's all the things that I just like to do in my own life. It's an expression of me, and then me getting to share that in ways that are more customized and tailored for the individuals that I work with. But the reality of it is, I'm just doing what I already love to do, which is have epic experiences all over the world and to share my I have a vast network of amazing humans that do all kinds of phenomenal things that I love to share with those that I bring into my circle. And so the very short answer is that this was an emergent organic overflow of what I already love to do. And some other time, we can chat about the specific steps that got me here, but my background is a combination of healing arts, performance art, coaching, global online group programs that I don't run anymore, but used to, and real deep interpersonal work coupled with erotic and sensual sexual activation. So there's quite a swirl that comes in.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This is Free Range with Von Miller, the podcast where I step outside the lines and I take you with me. Each week, we're talking everything from the biggest stories around the league to the biggest stories off the field. This isn't your average sports podcast. This is game meets culture, locker room meets living room, and no topic is off limits. So if you're into good conversations that ruffle a few feathers, join me every Wednesday and follow Free Range with Von Miller everywhere you get your podcast.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
I find that my growth and development and what I'm passionate about today, like you're passionate about, it comes from relationships that were great, relationships that were terrible. It's been a learning experience. So how have your relationships been? Did this come from somebody not giving you what you needed and you thought, I need this? I mean, I'm so curious
right,
on how this...
Right, because it's such a combination of things that you've pulled together to create this.
Yeah. So, no, this didn't get birthed from something that I didn't get that I needed, so much as the way I've always run my business, if you will, or my entrepreneurial expressions has always been pushing the edge of my own expression. Whether that was in the performance art world or online program world or on the ground experience design world, it always sourced from what's the edgiest way I can express myself right now? How can I dive in and meet the edges of my own pleasure, my own fear, my own joy, my own confusion, my own intelligence? How can I continue to push the next edge of my own evolution and growth? And then I'll offer something or I'll create something. Whereas I think many people in the world find the sore spot, the challenge, and then meet that with their creation. I very much, or the problem, and they fix the problem with their creation. I very much create and express from what's already pulsing through me and the deep desire to evolve. I have a very deep desire to evolve personally, and that is at the forefront of my values. And so and that has me take risks and play. And so as in that process, I then began to support others to take risks. I then began to support others to push the edges of their own expression, their own expansion. And as I started working with men who are definitely in the sugar space, but in any type of executive, corporate, entrepreneurial, CEO, high level decision making, high net worth, what I really saw was there was an incongruence in the desires that were alive and wanted in their internal world, their internal landscape, and then what they actually got to experience in the external landscape because of conditions and narratives and society and what we think is okay and what's not, and having to hide this desire or pretend that I don't enjoy this, or having a whole separate life, and I think many of us do this. We have a separate life of the one that feels really congruent, and then we have the front-facing, the forward-facing public life. And so I am the gap. I bridge that gap between providing experiences for men that really have deeper desires that they are maybe haven't given themselves permission to express or are hidden, or they actually some don't even know because, that's part of this beautiful excavation that we get to do, which is digging up the dirt that covers the true essence of who we are, and then giving that true essence the place to express.
Well, if they don't know that they need this, how do you market something to people who don't know they need it? That's the number one rule in business and marketing, is that you create something that you know is needed. So how do you do that?
That's a really great question. And, it's a journey. What I will say that I do time and again is my work is very, very high touch. So I don't market anywhere publicly. It's all either word of mouth or experiences like this, or like the experience that I'll share about a little bit later, the spread experience that I create. But it comes from many different places. And I will say that my clients have come in the most extraordinary and unpredictable ways, whether that is through the sugar space or through word of mouth or through, I'm not a big social media person, but every now and then I'll share something personal to myself that has attracted someone in a particular way that's not even about my business. But I would say that what I've learned through this experience of marketing, if you will, is I'm just really radically myself. And either men are drawn to that or they're not. And the ones that are right for this work are really drawn to it, because I feel that we are, particularly in this time, so desperate to be with truth, so desirous to be with people who are authentically themselves. It's such a breath of fresh air. And hopefully my intention is to provide the experience for men that I meet and that I work with, that they can be radically themselves with me, and that there is nothing other than reflection of their beauty and their pureness and their greatness and their power in that there's no judgment, that there's no shame or make wrong or blame, that not only do I show up as authentically and unapologetically me, but I create the conditions for them to be authentically and unapologetically them. And this is where my work is, it's in some ways, I'm not comparing better or worse to a sugar baby, but some of the perks that exists in this relationship, which are really different than any kind of intimate relationship, is that I'm the one that's giving, and I take care of my own emotional needs. I take care of all of my own emotional needs, all my needs. Yes, there's obviously a financial exchange that happens, but the work that I do is very intimate. It's very deep. I don't offer any explicit sexual exchange, but I do very intimate work. And I take 100% care of myself. So there's no responsibility for me. There's no responsibility for what I'm feeling. There's no letting me down. They don't have to show up in a particular way or not a particular way, or worry about hurting my feelings or spending enough time with me or too much or not enough. Like, all that's just gone. And then in their sugar relationships or their personal relationships, then they can save their energy for those women. And for me, I'm just fully giving, fully filling their cup. And they don't have to worry about my feelings or filling my cup. And so there's a real beauty in that they get to be seen in different levels of vulnerability and different levels of truth that don't come with the risk of either hurting someone or disappointing someone, or feeling judged by being seen in some of the ways that, we all have stuff that we don't want people to see, whether it's desires or kinks, or whether it's things that we have shame around, where we're shitty humans, because we're all shitty humans from time to time. And to be in a relationship where all of that's held with reverence and care, without judgment, and with deep desire to see these men be in their fullest joy in the world and in all their relationships. So there's a real beauty in that. There's no responsibility for them.
Can you walk us through what an experience looks like once a gentleman finds you or hires you? Then what happens?
Yeah, so it really depends on what he's working on. I'll preface it by that. It really depends on what he cares about and what are the areas that he would like to evolve, to grow, to expand, to change, to heal. It could go in any direction. So it might be anything from, and the experiences, I won't go into the details of the experiences, but I can say that it could be anything from something super erotic and kinky to something that is more spiritual in nature, to something that is relational. If there are broken relationships in family or friends, or even with lovers or partners that need tending to, that we tend to those relationships. It could be creating more purpose in the work world. Just because we all know this, right? Just because the bank account's fat doesn't mean that the purpose really feels like we're fulfilled and why we're here and the legacy that we're leaving. And so I do a lot of legacy work as well with men that get to, when they take their last breath, they know my legacy, it's going to ripple out so far beyond my existence here. And there is a sensual undertone to most of what I do because, Eros and eroticism is such a powerful force in the world. As we know, it's, as far as I'm concerned, the most powerful force, more powerful than rage, more powerful than sorrow or grief. Erotic energy is the energy of creation. I mean, it's just intense energy. So we use erotic energy to weave into these other areas of life to create more harmony, more coherence, more of the ability to walk through the world, knowing that your insides match your outsides and that you can go to bed at night. I lived the way I want to live. I feel an integrity. My heart feels expanded and alive. I'm turned on. I'm met by the relationships in my life. I'm expressed in, sometimes there are, dormant desires in terms of art and expression and just how one spends one's day and up-leveling of relationships. I think most humans have relationships that they love and some that are past the expiration date, but they're unwilling to release or have fear of getting rid of. And so I also support men to come into alignment with relationships that are really juicy and fulfilling for them. And so those experiences can be, I might take them somewhere in the world to a very particular event that's happening. I have a client coming in a couple of days, and I just spent all day yesterday with 3 other amazing women co-designing every micro moment breath that he'll be with us. And we're going into many, many different places in that scope. So I really do love weaving in what I call my network of magicians to craft and scheme and create really deep, deep, impactful experiences that you can't Google.
So based on their goal that they define for you, then it's some kind of a trip, whether it's local or international, and you accompany them. And during that trip, you have additional experiences during that time that kind of feeds their senses.
Yeah, that's right. So I start all of my work with a one-on-one deep dive. Just the 2 of us, we choose somewhere, whether I come to them, they come to me, we go somewhere else that feels nourishing. And we spend a couple of days together, 2.5 days, really diving into all of the areas. And from there, we nourish the soil or fertilize the soil, I should say, that we then begin to plant the seeds and grow these new experiences in. So that 2 days together is a really deep, fun, juicy place. And then yes, so they'll either come to me, I'll come to them, or I will have them meet me somewhere else in the world and go into these experiences together.
And how long do these last?
It can be a single day to multi, depending on what it is and schedules and timing.
So the biggest complaint that the girls have about these older, wealthier men that they're seeing and dating is they just haven't developed their emotional skills or their relationship skills. So that sounds like what you're doing is tapping into that and expanding them to a place they've never been before.
Yeah. And also getting really clear on, I think oftentimes, and in the sugar world as well, it's so important that our clarity around communication around what we want and what we're available for is a shared reality with the person we're going into a relationship with. And so if we have someone who is really desirous to show up more with more emotional capacity and wants support in doing that, great. And in the inverse of that is if someone's like, look, I'm actually not available for you emotionally, then to find relationships that don't want him to be available emotionally, because it's not fair for either person to have desires and expectations that just can't be met. And so that's the other piece, is really looking at where are you aligned in these relationships where you are ready and available and want to give in a particular way and know what you want to receive, so that when setting up these relationships, we're setting them up to win and have each party really fulfilled and really get what they want. A lot of men actually don't even understand what's in it for them to be emotionally literate. It seems like it's giving and it's exhausting, and she's always wanting this and this and this. And there's truth to that. And there's also truth to, if you knew what's in it for you to expand your emotional literacy and capacity, everything gets so much better.
Mm-hmm. Do you follow up with these men after your sessions? How does that
Oh,
whole work?
I'm in multi-month
Yeah.
containers. I don't do any like one-off thing. I
Okay.
minimum of 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. That makes sense.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This is Free Range with Von Miller, the podcast where I step outside the lines and I take you with me. Each week, we're talking everything from the biggest stories around the league to the biggest stories off the field. This isn't your average sports podcast. This is game meets culture, locker room meets living room, and no topic is off limits. So if you're into good conversations that ruffle a few feathers, join me every Wednesday and follow Free Range with Von Miller everywhere you get your podcast.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
So you've got some kind of a interacts with food coming up.
I do. I have an event.
How does this interact with food?
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, anything can interact with
Well,
food.
Yeah, we'll agree with
Food
that.
belongs almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an event that I do. It's called Spread, and it is the weaving of what I call erotic ritual theater, taboo performance art, intimacy, different types of intimacy, and deeper levels of connection, coupled with a multi-course fine dining experience. And it's designed, it's a very highly curated, small event. I only invite 4 men in, and then I curate 1 woman for each of the men who are holding the space. There's actually, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 women and 4 men. And we go on a wild journey together. And this particular evening, the art and the theater is around the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. And we take a journey back into the garden in a very artful, theatrical way, and then go into some deep ritual together, which is, it's all designed to create deeper levels of intimacy, deeper levels of connection, and to bring men into a new connection with their turn on, a new connection with their eros, in a way that actually has women's bodies and emotions open rather than contract. And I think I have not yet met a man who hadn't had the experience of they want her to open and she closes instead. He wants to turn her on, but she's turned off instead. And so we work with creating a new relationship with erotic energy that is in service of having women melt open energetically, emotionally, physically, because they feel so seen and so met, that when erotic energy comes from the masculine, the women just melt.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you match the men and the women? Or does it not matter?
It doesn't matter. So we all participate in the evening together. And so it's not 1 man per 1 woman. It is numbers wise, ratio wise. But in terms of how the evening works, we're all having an experience of each other.
So interesting. Alejandra and I went through a program it was one of those self-development weekends where we were pushed to do things that I was not comfortable doing, but I came out of it such a better person and a lot more open. It kind of sounds similar, but more on a very intimate scale with some, I love that the art is kind of thrown in there. And when we went to New York City for Lily's engagement, we went to this really strange, for us it was strange. Some of us liked it, some of us didn't, where we went into this bank building and we went back in time to when during the crash, and saw how it changed lives. And they did like different rooms, and you just followed people around. There was no speaking, and they just followed.
Is this the personal development weekend you went to?
The what?
This is the personal development weekend?
No. This was that was something we did in LA, but then in New York we went to this theatrical performance where you followed people around in a bank building, and they were interacting with each other and things were happening, but there was no speaking, and you're just kind of watching. It's a voyeuristic type of experience. You wore a mask, but it was really artful, and some people liked it, some people didn't. And I just remember thinking, you get out of it what you kind of get out of it, right? So I'm thinking about your event. do people like I read the testimonials, and people seem to think that it's absolutely life-changing for them. Would you call it life-changing?
That's what we've experienced. That has been the consistent feedback.
Mm-hmm.
We have an evening. It's a full blown. We go places.
And then, so that's just one evening. Do you keep in contact with them in the future? Or is there
I
a
do.
follow-up?
Yeah, there is. Well, as part of the evening, we follow up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, every single person that has participated in Spread, I'm in connection with. And it matters to me because it matters to me to create things that make a difference, that matter. And so it's important to me to check in and be in connection and find out, how does this work alive in your life? How is this experience alive in your life? What is real for you? What is lasting? Regardless of how long I work with someone, whether it's just a night with Spread or a longer term, I'm actively in engagement in some capacity with everyone that crosses my path.
Because I was thinking the seminar thing, or the weekend that we went to in LA, they followed up with us quite a bit for probably
What was it? What did you do?
It was MITT, Masters in Transformational Training.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar. Like you said, when you push yourself in ways that are uncomfortable, and sometimes in the moment you're like, oh God, I wish I didn't have to do this. But then who you get to be on the other side is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was pushed to do things I'd never been pushed to do. And I felt super uncomfortable doing those, but everybody was pushed to do those things, right? So you're just like, okay, when in Rome, right? But then I got more comfortable as everybody was doing these particular exercises. And there was, hugging exercises, there was staring exercises, all kinds of things that I'm just not used to doing.
Right.
And I really did feel like I came out of it as a changed person.
It's so powerful, and we really, the best testimony to growth, and I imagine you also felt more deeply connected and intimate with the people in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see over and over again is that there's something to be said for no pain, no gain. There really is. I'm not an advocate of pain, outside of the pleasure space, but there is something beautiful about that. The friction that creates the sand and the pearl it's real. And it's a beautiful place to also know ourselves as human beings that are courageous enough to walk in the fires of our own evolution, to step into the hot coals of change in a way that I think of it also if we use sex as an example, which is such a lovely example because we can all relate to it, is that I think for most, we know how we are sexually and in the bedroom. And then there's a lot of things that are outside of our comfort zone. And there's probably some desire to explore outside of the comfort zone, but it's scary and it's vulnerable. But we don't get to receive the pleasure of sexual expansion unless we're willing to walk into that fear and that discomfort. And then on the other side of that, literally, metaphorically, we can explode with new levels of pleasure, but not unless we're willing to meet the edge. And so I just like to edge people in all directions.
And the fact that you offer this to men, first of all, it's such a great gift, not only to the men, but to the women that they end up going back to. Because I think men have probably a harder time opening up, being vulnerable, expressing themselves. They need a safe space, just like women do. And it sounds like you offer that to them.
I really appreciate you saying that because it's so true. One of the things that my work can be considered competition with a partner, and it's really not. It's very supportive of those who are in partnership. There's nothing I love more than returning a man an even better version of himself to his lover, to his partner, to his wife. It's such a beauty and a joy and a gift to do that, and also to support my sisters and the women in my life to have better relationships and more powerful present men. And so it is really true that the men who cross my path only come back as better partners, as better lovers, as better and more present and more able to hold the space that their partners need held for them.
So this little dinner event that you're having, do you hold it in different cities, or how do you determine where you're going to have it?
Thus far, we've had it in Austin. It will be, as it grows, I will be offering it in different cities. It's a very complex, multi-dimensional, faceted experience that is hard to just pick up and move. but it's definitely possible for that to happen. So I will be offering it in other cities. Currently, it's in Austin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of players, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, I know. I get it. And then you had mentioned too that that's one facet. This is just like one little event. What are some of the other, do you have other types of events that you offer?
This is the main group event that I offer. Everything else would be in the world of the custom design. However, this event next year is going to expand into a multi-day event that will be 2.5 days. So we'll be together in this ritual, art, erotic performance, multi-day container that will be it's called, so this event is called Spread. The longer version is called Spread X. And it will be just that, a little bit more explicit, a bit more diving into some of the deeper areas. So that's in the making. That will join us in 2026.
Do you offer any couple excursions?
You know, I have been asked that over and over and over again, and I feel like I'm headed in that direction. I haven't been quite ready to say yes to that. I think if there was a couple that's like, look, we need you, come design for us, come help us, I would be willing to entertain that. I do think that I'm being pushed in that direction. It just hasn't quite been time for me to say yes to that. But there's a reality in which that could happen.
Okay. So back to sugar dating. I have a question about that. You say you're not a sugar baby and you don't really participate in that. What do you know? What are your thoughts and what do you think sugar dating actually is?
Well, I would love to hear what your definition is.
Well, I've got like 300 episodes that address that.
Tell me with the one that's most relevant in this moment.
Well, we have found that the biggest misconception that people have around the world or in the U.S. is just a bunch of old men wanting to bang a 21-year-old. And you see in social media, you'll see actors, you'll see these older guys with very, very young girls. And people are like, oh, that's so perverted. So that is the misconception that we're finding. Is it happening? Yes, of course it is. You see it, it's happening. Is it the norm? It's not. After interviewing hundreds and hundreds of sugar babies and sugar daddies, what we found was real relationships are happening. Yes, these are age gap relationships, but there's real connections. It's not just sex work. It can be considered sex work as a marriage can be considered sex work, right? Sure. Everything is transactional to a means. So as we started meeting people, we started finding high quality people in this lifestyle, quote unquote. We have found that it's actually a very traditional role of a man taking care of a woman. That's kind of the premise of the podcast, is not only to share a lot of hilarious stories and what the fuck moments, but address the misconceptions of it, try to destigmatize what sugar dating is all about, and really tell the truth of what we're finding.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you're also redefining or giving a new opportunity or access point to being in relationships that are really, really clear on this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I'm available for, this is what I'm not available for, whether that's sugar or open relating or monogamy. I think that in the way that these sugar relationships are designed, that are designed in ways that really work, there's a real beauty to being able to state, this is what makes me happy, this is what makes me happy, and we can find the harmonious resonance between the two of us in a way that sets people up to have all their desires fulfilled, and I really support that.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy.
This is Free Range with Von Miller, the podcast where I step outside the lines and I take you with me. Each week, we're talking everything from the biggest stories around the league to the biggest stories off the field. This isn't your average sports podcast. This is game meets culture, locker room meets living room, and no topic is off limits. So if you're into good conversations that ruffle a few feathers, join me every Wednesday and follow Free Range with Von Miller everywhere you get your podcast.
Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
The other thing that we found is that the reason real relationships are happening is because of the low pressure situation.
Yeah.
Hey, you know exactly why I'm here. I know why you're here. There is a financial aspect. I'm going to make it worth your while to let me have the opportunity. We call money our cheat code. And now I can get you in front of me. And if we vibe and if our personalities match, then and we have a great time at the end of the night, you go your way, I go mine, and let's do it again. And then what we're happening is when people have less pressure of, do I see this person as a boyfriend material or a girlfriend material? Can I see myself introducing this person to my family? Can I see myself eventually married and having kids? All that kind of goes away in the very beginning, and then relationships can happen organically. Whereas my last Bumble date, that's exactly what she was thinking. I could tell. Right. And they don't want to waste their time if they can't see you as a future partner. We talk about it all the time. I've gone out with girls for years knowing I'll never marry that girl. She's never going to be my girlfriend. It's never going to go anywhere but this. And we had the greatest time for a few years. And then when it ended, and we ended as friends. There wasn't like this hard crash. Yeah. But I didn't have that pressure of like, I'm wasting my time. I didn't feel like I'm wasting my time, which was really cool.
I think it helps because it keeps both people very present and in the moment instead of like being future focused where there's this end goal, what should the end goal be in 10 years? And then that affects decisions right now. But with 100%, this kind of lifestyle,
I really support that. I mean, I feel like in any way that we can find alignment and freedom and joy in our relationships is such a yes. I've certainly had relationships where if I had to choose in the moment, I would have said, no, thanks. But because there was openness or an agreement that there was openness, sugar wasn't the dynamic, but it's similar in that there was an openness in it. And it allowed my system to just, okay, fine. I can show up myself fully because I'm not committed to anything.
Yeah. All right. Let me take it a little bit personal.
Yeah.
How's your relationships?
Well, I could answer that many, many different ways. I mean, yummy, juicy.
Yeah.
Also room for up level like anyone. I'm just as human as we all are.
Do you currently have anyone steady in your life or a long-term relationship?
Currently, I have lovers. I'm not in a committed relationship.
Okay. Have you ever been married in the past?
I've not.
No. No children?
Nope.
Okay.
And then how do you mentioned earlier that you take care of your emotional needs very well. Mm-hmm. Even though you do this work and you're giving a lot, how do you take care of your emotional needs? What are some of the specific things you do for yourself?
So I have a lot of practices that I do that keep my cup very full. I also have a lot of other relationships that support me to fill my cup. And I have a strong system of both women and men that are all deep in their own work and know what it takes to hold this kind of space for others. And so pretty good about keeping my cup full.
Your family, are they very supportive?
Oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They know my mom knows everything. She knows maybe more than she'd like to know.
Well, obviously
I don't hold back anything.
Yeah. You've kind of hit some emotional areas that a lot of people don't go that direction, or they don't go that deep, or they don't study that much or get that passionate about. Did you get that from your mom?
My mom and I are really, really different. And we also have some similarities that are like, wow, who knew? I'm a very strong, out there, extroverted personality. She's a very soft, introverted personality. Mm-hmm. Although the things that she cares about, she really cares about. We just have a very different way of being in the world. There's a beauty in that I hide nothing. She knows all about everything from the kinks to the emotionality, to the healing, to the men, to the all of it. It's all on the line. And that's what I love about how I've designed my life. And hopefully I get to support others to do the same, is being more transparent with their lives so they're free. I feel so free in my life because I hide nothing. I don't tell everyone everything, of course, because I'm a discerning human being, but my worlds are congruent. My personal life, my professional life, it's all the same life. And hopefully I get to support others to become more congruent and free in their own lives.
Yeah, this has been really fantastic. My world has completely changed after I got divorced and then started sugar dating. I didn't really see much change going when I was regular dating, vanilla dating. But once I started sugar dating, the people that I've met and I network with now and the knowledge that I come across, people like you that share things, it's just been an unbelievable world that I never even knew existed. And we really appreciate you coming on and telling us how all this works. Your mind goes different places than mine. It just almost blows my mind because I was like, wow, I would have never gone that direction. That's why I'm so curious on how did you get to that point, right? Was it, did you just always feel it?
What I offer now?
Did you just, like some people say, I knew as young as, 10 or 12 that this was my life calling. I just felt this urge to do whatever, right? Did you have an early sense of this?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I mean, stories for another time, but I had some pretty dark times, really dark times growing up, and was very lost for a long time and very just a product of my own crazy childhood and some experiences that I've had. And I was definitely not in my power for a very long time. And it was a journey that brought me into who I am today, a long journey and a beautiful journey and an excruciating journey. But I really have built where I am today, brick by brick by brick by brick, by layer, by breath, by prayer. And in that, there has been, back to our initial conversation around growth and the discomfort that creates the growth. I've really put myself in some really uncomfortable positions and situations because I wanted something different and I wanted to grow and evolve and heal. And I did that and I do that. And it hasn't always been easy. In fact, there's a lot of times it really wasn't easy. And the more I did that, the more I learned who I was in the world and the more I learned what I offer and who the true essence of, there are those blessed humans that come out of the womb knowing exactly what they want and what their purpose is. That's not been my story at all. I was very much growing into the truth of who I am through lots of trials and lots of tribulations and lots of failures and lots of darkness. And through my own commitment and dedication to wanting more, I don't ask others to do anything I haven't done. I don't ask others to play in any ways that I haven't played myself or to walk through any fires that I haven't walked through. So hopefully I lead by example on my good days.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And that's, as we talked before the show, that's kind of how I am here today, is because of a really, really tough situation. It was a very bad breakup that I went through, and I did not know how to deal with it emotionally. And I did the work, and I got through the fire, and I came out of it such a stronger version of myself. And then all of a sudden I became obsessed with the knowledge that I had gained and just started eating up or listening to all I could, just absorbing as much information as I could get. And then all of a sudden, I almost felt like I'm in the Matrix. I just kind of take a step back. The world has gotten a lot easier to see. I can see men making these mistakes and women and just these relationship mistakes. And all of a sudden now I have this huge desire to help them. Right.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's like you've taken the lemons and made lemonade. You've taken straw and woven it into gold, and get to offer to get to have lived through any kind of hell, if you will, in our lives. And I use that word liberally because we all experience it differently, but to have lived through painful, dark nights of the soul and then transform that into service to others, I can't imagine anything better in the world. It's just a beautiful way to make sense of what's been so painful.
Great. Well, let our listeners know where they can find you. You have any socials or just mainly that website or what?
Yeah, all socials are Isabella Braveheart, Braveheart, and my site is sacredspread.com or urbanpriestess.com. And spread is November 4th in Austin, Texas. I think we have one spot left. So if there's an amazingly aligned man that would like to join us, come fill out an application. I'd love to meet you. Or if you're interested in finding out more about my work, I'd also love to meet you.
And then I'm sure you're going to have lots of future stuff. So check our website and see when the next ones are scheduled. if you miss this one, because we have lots of listeners who listen to these shows years down the road. And yeah, so Nikki, what'd you think?
I also just learned that something called Sugarpalooza exists, and I didn't know that before.
Well,
that's amazing.
Sugarpalooza, like you said, is like all of a sudden now this thing's grown into an uncontrollable force. Sugarpalooza 1 was a few years ago, and it was just an experiment to see how people in this lifestyle get along with each other. I invited a whole bunch of sugar babies into a suite to see Dua Lipa, and the most amazing thing happened. They formed this unbelievable bond. They exchanged numbers. They became friends. And that here, 3-4 years later, they're all still friends. And I was like, what just happened? And then we had it again and again and again. And now we're on number 7. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
The name itself just sounds like, who doesn't want to do that?
Our last one was for the Shakira concert. So my co-host Lily nicknamed that one the Shakira Palooza.
That's so fun.
Anyway,
so
Nikki, this was good, huh?
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you both so much. I really appreciate being here and being able to share a little bit more about what I do. And I thank you for creating this space of knowledge and a place where people can swap stories and learn and become more evolved versions of themselves and their sugar relationships. It's a really beautiful thing to know this exists.
Well, I'm looking to get back to Austin real soon, so I'll look you up.
And thanks for the great work that you're doing.
All right. Well, you guys heard it. Sugarpalooza 7. If you want to be a part, go to our website now. And if you want to share your crazy sugar dating stories, we love to hear those. Go to secretsofasugardaddy.com. You can contact us there. We're on Instagram. We'd love a follow. People message me all the time. I think I got 2 messages right now from Instagram, and I do answer those. So lots of ways to get a hold of me. I'm very accessible. And Nikki, we're going to see you real soon, though.
Yes.
Sugarpalooza 7.
Yes, I can't wait. It's almost here. It's coming fast.
Yeah. All right. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.
This is Free Range with Von Miller, the podcast where I step outside the lines and I take you with me. Each week, we're talking everything from the biggest stories around the league to the biggest stories off the field. This isn't your average sports podcast. This is game meets culture, locker room meets living room, and no topic is off limits. So if you're into good conversations that ruffle a few feathers, join me every Wednesday and follow Free Range with Von Miller everywhere you get your podcast.